Ladies and gentlemen, Stamford Bridge redevelopment. It's very complex. It's very, very complex. Lots of drama happening around this particular situation, this news. Look, it's important. We need a bigger capacity stadium, but it's not easy. It's not easy. It's tough in this dunya. It is very tough in this dunya.
All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin.
All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. Look, everything is in regards to Stamford Bridge redevelopment or relocation, whatever the case may be. It's very important. This is what's been circulating over the last 24 hours or so. Why? Why do we need this? I think let's try and understand this entire situation. Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's try and explain as well as we can as to what the matter is about. What is all the fuss and drama and chaos about? First of all, why the need? Why the need, ladies and gentlemen, to redevelop Stamford Bridge? What's so bad about the current situation? 40,000 capacity. It's a historic place. Fans love going there. It's got a lot of happy memories over there, right? But it is very, very crucial, ladies and gentlemen. I think we need to understand, first of all, why it's needed. A club the size of Chelsea Football Club, do you know what I mean? Like, it's the levels that we have. We're one of the top clubs in Europe. Let's face it. We may not be right now, but we are in the broader spectrum of things. And for a club the size of Chelsea Football Club, 40,000 capacity is not enough. Honestly, that's sort of like playing with the little dogs out there. Size does matter in this situation, ladies and gentlemen. Size does matter. A club in the likes of Chelsea Football Club needs to have at least 60, 70,000 capacity, if not more. Some of the elite clubs out there have massive capacity. Do you know what I mean? 80, 90,000. One of the biggest issues that we're facing, and when the new owners took over, is they looked at every possible ways to increase revenue, because at the end of the day, football is a business, and in order to make it a fruitful business, you need to make more money. With the level of competition that we're seeing in recent times, you have to spend in order to stay on top. And in order to spend, you've got to make more money. And right now, clubs like Spurs, for instance, with their new stadium that they built, moved into not that long ago, they're making their capacity is a lot. They're making a lot of money, a lot more money than Chelsea Football Club, and that for me is not acceptable. We're bigger than Spurs in terms of footballing history, in terms of European pedigree, in terms of Premier League pedigree, but they end up earning more than us with their stadium revenue, at least somewhere around 10 to 20 million more per season. That's lost income for us, which is very, very important. And with all the financial fair play stuff that's been going around and the losses that we've made over the last few seasons, we need to find every single way to increase our revenue. And this was one of the notions when the new owners came in. They looked at, Stamford Bridge, the capacity, and how we can improve the revenue. So that's the why. Why do we need this to be done? Now, what are the possible options that's available? Now, some of the possible options that's been floated around is, one, you can stand by stand redevelop Stamford Bridge and try and see if you can increase the capacity from 40,000 to about 60,000. I think that's a start. Even 60,000, I don't know if that's good enough. You want it to be somewhere around 70, 80,000. But at least that's something. The other one is completely knock down Stamford Bridge and redevelop it. And meanwhile, even with the whole stand-by-stand redevelopment, you'll have to find another home. And that in itself is a bit of an issue. This is why we've been talking to Fulham, and seeing if we can play in Craven Cottage. This is why there's rumours about West Ham and their stadium. And finally, the most likely sort of situation seems to be Wembley. And a lot of this stuff is it's not feasible from a logistic point of view as well. Craven Cottage, fair enough, but moving into a rival's Stadium, West Ham. How do West Ham fans would feel about that? How would Chelsea fans, the match-going fans, feel about that? They really, really strongly oppose that. Wembley is something that they can accept, but at the same time they can't, because logistically it's far. It's far to go. And on top of that, moving into a different stadium, it's not for a short time. You're looking at somewhere around 3 to 4 years' time to redevelop the stadium. It's going to take a bit of time. There's got to be a whole heap of architectural stuff that's going to have to happen, that needs to be passed by the local councils, by the government, and then you start the redevelopment. So this isn't a small time thing that, okay, 12 months, we'll move somewhere and we come back to Stamford Bridge. No. And on top of that, wherever you move, there's cost involved. You think you can just move into a different stadium without any cost? There's going to be rent that you're going to have to pay. So these are some of the options, and the final option is obviously Earl's Court. I think that's the location that's very close to Stamford Bridge, a large piece of land where you can absolutely build a state-of-the-art stadium, somewhere around 80,000 capacity, minimum 70,000. But that would mean you'd have to leave Stamford Bridge, the historical stadium, the place where so many memories, good memories have been made. And how do fans feel about that? And there's implications to that. So these are the options, right? These are the options. And we're going to look at what are some of the implications. Let's look at the news that's been going around, because this is not as straightforward as the owners potentially, when they first bought the club, thought it might have been. But I think there's going to be some serious issues. And on top of that, one of the serious issues is the Chelsea pitch owners, the group, the Stamford Bridge, the pitch is owned by people. And that area of Stamford Bridge is a lucrative piece of land. Like, you're gonna have to convince these pitch owners who are die-hard Chelsea fans, right? They don't want to sell that particular part of the pitch and their share of it. But if you can convince them, that's going to be a lot of money. That's going to be a lot of money to outlay. And at the same time, you're going to have to convince them. What if you're unable to convince them? And this is the backlash that could potentially happen. Let's have a look at the news. Henry Winter puts out a fantastic article. I think that kind of encapsulates everything. So we'll look at that article very, very soon. But let's go through all the different tweets from different journalists, media people out there. CFC exploring options on stadium future bridge redevelopment complicated. Boehly faces backlash if clubs opt for Earls Court move. As I said, Earls Court is literally only less than a kilometer away, to be honest, and then it's the perfect situation. However, Earls Court has its own issues as well, because they're thinking about developing in that piece of land, that large piece of land, new apartments, offices, this, that, the other. So they're not really interested to build a stadium there. Concerned fans put questions to board. Club keen to work through process together with fans' decision later this year. This is the article that we'll look through very, very soon. Earls Court Development Co says there is no football stadium in its draft master plan for the site, a transformative mixed-use scheme to bring the wonder back to Earls Court, which will see 4,500 homes, 15,000 jobs, acres of public spaces and cultural facilities. There you go. Earls Court are not interested in building a stadium there. Ben Jacobs saying Earls Court Development Company denied they are in talks with Chelsea over a possible relocation to the Earls Court site. A lot of the large part of the fan base were getting excited that, if we have to leave, we don't want to leave Stamford Bridge, but if we have to, we don't mind going to Earls Court. But Earls Court company is saying, the development company is saying, well, we've not spoken to Chelsea at all. Nothing has been talked about. So I don't know what your fans are talking about. We're not interested at the moment. We categorically denied that there are any talks taking place with Chelsea FC about a stadium relocation to the Earls Court site. We have recently launched a draft master plan for a transformative mixed-use scheme to bring the wonder back to Earls Court. This is what Henry Winter was saying as well. Our master plan proposal will deliver 4,500 homes, 15,000 jobs, acres of public spaces, and cultural facilities in an ambitious zero-carbon development. There is no football stadium in our master plan. This is coming from CFC Daily. The Earls Court site is the highlighted area. So, as you can see here, let me just try and see if I can enlarge that a little bit. This is the Stamford Bridge, location, and just a bit ahead of that is the Earls Court. So literally, from a fan's perspective, you can understand why people would want to, they may not be too peeved off about moving into Earls Court because it's literally not that far away. So from a logistics standpoint, it makes sense. It's not going to be too much of a hassle, and potentially you're not too far away from Stamford Bridge, so that spirit, I suppose, still lives. But this pitch, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, that is owned by people, by fans, the Chelsea pitch owners. They hold the shares, and that in itself, moving away from Stamford Bridge, is going to be a massive thing to convince. So look, that's the location, just to get a bit of a perspective. This is what PYS said. The anti-Earls Court group are ready to hold protest against owner Todd Boehly if he decides to build a new stadium there and move from Stamford Bridge. If they consider Earls Court, we might see the same supporter demonstrations that put paid to the Super League. There you go. This whole situation, ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy. It's very complex. It's complicated. To make more revenue, we understand why the redevelopment or relocation is needed. We need more capacity, match day sales of the tickets. We need to be able to tap into more money. We understand the options that are available. And here are the obstacles. Here are the obstacles. People will cause chaos. They don't essentially want to move away from Stamford Bridge. If they consider Earls Court, we might see the same supporter demonstration that put paid to the Super League. My days. We had a Save the Bridge campaign in the 80s. This is Save the Bridge. 2 England's 3 historic club venues left are Old Trafford, Anfield, and Stamford Bridge. There you go. Each with their own culture. We have to stay at the bridge from Time Sport. Now, let's have a look at this particular article that kind of encapsulates everything perfectly. Todd Boehly seems very grim. Obviously, they've just plugged in a picture of him. Chelsea face furious backlash if Todd Boehly opts for Earls Court move. Fans warn co-owner that reneging on his pre-purchase promise could lead to same protests that put paid to European Super League. So, look, I think initially when Todd Boehly took over, there was talks that there was going to be redevelopment of Stamford Bridge, stand by stand, or potentially a whole knockdown of Stamford Bridge whilst we find a home somewhere else and then we return back. But my days, all of that, it's expensive as well, man. Knocking down Stamford Bridge completely, moving somewhere, there's the rental fee. Then building a new one, there's a lot of fee involved. If you do go to Earls Court, and look, Earls Court company has said, I don't know what you guys are planning with Earls Court. We've not agreed with anything. But by chance, if our owners are able to purchase that land, then all this time we can still stay at Stamford Bridge and then move into Earls Court when the stadium is rebuilt. So in that sense, some portion of the cost can be cut in regards to rent, I suppose, moving away from Stamford Bridge to a different location. Also from a logistics standpoint as well, fans get to stay at Stamford Bridge. Everything is hunky-dory, we don't have to worry about that. Chelsea fans are so concerned about the threat of a move away from Stamford Bridge to Earls Court that they have assembled a series of questions to put to Todd Boehly, the club's chairman and co-owner. The questions passed at the times will be filtered via the fan advisory board to Boehly and the main board. If you guys remember, the new fan advisory board that was created. There's going to be a lot of questions that's going to be asked in that particular advisory board. The club are exploring options on the stadium and are not committing to anything until fully establishing the time and cost of all possibilities, but they hope to have sense of preference on Stamford Bridge or Earls Court later this year, ideally over the summer. Boehly has already shown himself keen to listen to supporters. The club have kept in close touch with Chelsea pitch owner CPO, which owns the Stamford Bridge pitch throughout the process and will continue to. Chelsea are determined to reach the right decision together. This is the issue. The pitch is owned by fans, and to convince them is going to be a hell of a task. Yet that Yet they face a backlash if they choose to leave their ancestral home. If they consider Earls Court, we might see the same support demonstration that put paid to the European Super League in 2021, said one of the prominent fans involved in the anti-Earls Court crew. Todd Boehly has to give a guarantee that Chelsea will stay at the bridge. Out of the 13 clubs, only one has never moved home, Chelsea. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this situation is not as easy as we might have thought. Chelsea's pressing need expansion. The most obvious way in which Chelsea lag behind in their rivals is the stadium. There you go. One of the biggest reasons why we need this redevelopment relocation. With a relatively small capacity and insufficient corporate hospitality facilities, Stamford Bridge is holding the club back from unlocking significant revenue streams. They looked into expansion in 2015, but planning permission lapsed after a series of setbacks. So, look, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Premier League's Big Six stadium capacities: Old Trafford 74,000, Tottenham 62,000. This is why Tottenham making more money than us. Old Trafford 74, man. Emirates Stadium 60, Etihad 55, Anfield 53, Chelsea 41. That's not good enough. Nearest, rival Anfield 53,000, at least another 12,000 more. Missing out on a lot of revenue, man. Boehly initially signaled the new owners intend to redevelop Stamford Bridge through a complicated stand-by-stand increase from 40,000 to 60,000, or through demolition and total rebuild, which would require the team to move to Craven Cottage or Wembley for up to 4 seasons. Both of those operations are beset with logistical problems, let alone inevitable legal challenges from neighbors. There you go. It's complex, man. It's complex. So look, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what's going to happen. I think the best option at the moment, from my perspective, is I'm not really sure the Earls Court situation. You're going to have to talk to that company, Earls Court Development Company, to see if you can purchase that. And I don't know if they're willing to deter away from their plans of creating 4,500 homes and 15,000 jobs to build a stadium. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they're going to be looking to deter away from that. So that in itself will be very difficult. You're going to have to outlay a humongous amount of money, and then you got to build. And that is going to cost a lot of money. And money is something that is very difficult for us at the moment. We're in the mud financially, in the sense, we're making losses. I'm pretty sure Chelsea owners got a lot of money. That's not the problem. But FFP, do you know what I mean? We need to be well within it. And you best believe in the future, we're probably not going to get that many players in if we outlay that much money. So look, for me, I don't know, maybe stand by stand. That in itself won't be easy. We have to find a location elsewhere. So this is complex, man. This is very, very complex. And on top of that, if you do relocate, you're going to have to convince the Chelsea pitch owners, which in itself is a massive obstacle as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts. What's going to happen? What do you think is the best idea? This is a bit of a mess. When we first got taken over by the new owners, we were all getting excited. Redevelopment, Stamford Bridge is going to expand to 60,000. But I don't know how feasible it is, if I'm being absolutely honest. So, yeah, hope you've enjoyed this. Hope all of that kind of finally, for all the people that were sort of wondering what's going on about this chaos and need to have this whole explained, hopefully it's been explained. Smash up the like button if you've enjoyed this. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. I shall see you guys for a live tomorrow. Till then, see ya.